In our last episode, we discussed the financial troubles in Lebanon. The financial problems were due to corruption, political sectarianism, and poor financial planning. However, the impact of this on the local population was significant. How did the crisis impact the local population? And how can the situation be brought under control? This is the economic affair. Please don't forget to subscribe and click the bell icon to get regular updates. The government had large financial requirements every month to service debt and fund trades and fiscal deficits. The government desperately tried to raise money to pay off its burgeoning expenses. In October 2019, the government planned taxes on gasoline, tobacco, and WhatsApp calls to generate revenue. However, a backlash forced it to cancel the plans. As the government couldn't find another source of funding, in March it announced a sovereign default on its 1.2 billion foreign bonds for the first time in its history. 2020 also saw two events that further rocked the economy of Lebanon. Coronavirus had created a global financial slump which impacted remittances to Lebanon, a country heavily dependent on them. On August 4, a massive explosion at Beirut city's port left at least 204 deaths, 6,500 injuries, and 50 billion in property damages. The blast occurred at the nation's central maritime hub, and 60% of its imports passed through it. In 2018, tourism accounted for nearly one-fifth of Lebanon's GDP, when 2 million people visited the country. Due to coronavirus and the blast, occupancy rates at the hotel slumped to 5%, and the explosion damaged close to 90% of the hotels in Beirut. In July 2019, it became clear that the Lebanese government might default on its debt obligations. Due to this, Lebanese pound started weakening against the dollar in the black market. Today, the black market exchange rate is around 8,100 pounds. Inflation has reached triple-digit rates, and the country is into its worst ever economic crisis. A breakdown in the country's financial system and skyrocketing inflation has triggered mass protests. The unemployment rate has surpassed 50%, and the food prices have more than doubled since 2019. The country faces a major food crisis, and up to 75% of the population requires urgent aid. With disastrous financial health, the government can't even provide essential services. Power cuts are a regular affair. The country lacks safe drinking water, has limited public health care, and has some of the world's worst internet connections. On April 30, the government approved a recovery plan that hoped to win a 10 billion bailout package from the International Monetary Fund. However, the aid never arrived as Lebanon has failed to make progress on the funders' required reforms. The economic model, relying on an unsustainable Ponzi scheme, has left Lebanon's working class with austerity. A central bank audit must take place as soon as possible. Re-establishing the central bank's credibility is a must to unlock a life-saving cash injection from the international community. A successful audit will demystify allegations of embezzlement, nefarious profiteering, and rampant corruption. Time is running out fast for Lebanon, and the political elite needs to pave the way for reforms. That's it for today. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.